They come full dress like a SWAT team, okay? They have helmets on. They have things that they're swinging around. They created the game. They wrote the rules. They wrote the playbook. Guess what? The referees get paid by them. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. They change the rules as it goes along. I forgot to tell you one more thing. They have night vision goggles. Not only that, but here's the worst part. You get out there and you draw and you start walking around like this, okay? You're walking around and you say, oh, geez, somebody just hit me from there. I'm going to avoid him now. I'm going to come over here. And so somebody hits you. So you walk over here. And say, oh, I'll avoid him, but so he won't hit me again. So then you run back over here. What's going on here? What's the problem here? I'm going to the same place over and over again. For those of you loyal citizens who are filling out your tax forms year after year, what are you doing? Well, let me see. There's a little track here, and it's sort of like I'm on a little train track here. So I go over here, and they hit me. Oh, my God, I better not stand here. I'm going to move over here. Oh, good, I'm safe here. You get hit again. Oh, geez, that's not safe over here. I better walk over here. Well, you idiot. What's wrong with over here? Oh, can you go over there? What are you doing? You're like a rabbit in the woods. And you're making little marks in the snow. And you didn't know that you can go on fresh snow, so you follow the same marks every year. So what do? Hey, the idiot over there, he's following the same tracks every year, and guess what he does? He's so good to us. He comes up and he says, oh, I'm the rabbit. I'm going to I'll trace a little pattern here and give it to you on a piece of paper so you know exactly the traces, the tracks I go through all through the year. And he gives it to the foxes. Because the foxes are going to protect them. They promise. Okay? Here you are. Here's the pattern where we're going to go. And guess what? I did that for the same, went on the same trail for the last 20 years. And you know what? Chances are I'll go on the same trail again for the next 20. So all you have to do is stand over there and pick me off. And they do it every year. And then people wonder, geez, how come I get hit all the times? I mean, I know a 63-year-old woman who's always paid her taxes, and she's always lived a good life. She has volunteered. She takes in beggars, I don't care, off the street. She'll do anything for anybody. She is the nicest lady you could ever meet. She didn't pay enough in taxes, they decided. And so what did they do? They zinged her. They said, you owe us another $2,000. She didn't have $2,000. She says, I'm sorry, I don't have it. Too bad. They seized her house, they seized her car, and they seized her bank accounts, and they seized her wages. She didn't have the money. She didn't know. What is she going to do? She has no money in the bank to do anything with, but she gave them a pattern. They knew what she was going to do. She's an easy target, so they hit her. So for those of you who think, why do I have to worry about privacy? I'm not big and famous and rich. Why should they worry? Why should they hassle me? Because you're a prime target. You're easy. She's easy. So are you, unless you take care of yourself. So they know everything about you. And when I talk about the government here, I'm not going to just pick on CCRA or the IRS, because the government is a company. Try to remember, the government is nothing but a company. The biggest, hugest, most enormous banks in the world are working with a company called your government. They're working with the U.S. government, which is another company. And there's a bunch of old boys sitting up in fancy offices laughing at us all, saying, we know what those stupid suckers are going to do. We told them what to do. They did it. And then every year they're going to send us a report of what they did and probably what they'll do next year. And if they don't do it right, we're going to zing them anyway. We'd like to squeeze a little more out of them. Okay? So they've got a dossier on you. So don't just pick on the government. It's all, it's not all big companies. There's some good, large companies, I'm sure. But big companies can, in their power, can misuse their power. And governments are no more guilty of that than other big companies. They know your personal, financial, medical, educational, professional associations, you name it, criminal records. If they don't have any on you, they'll make them up. In fact, for those of you from the United States, if you ever have been branded a tax protester because somebody decided that they were going to turn you in or complain about you or whatever, and so you demand to see your IMF files, your internal tax files, you will find out that you're a drug dealer, that you're stealing cars, that you're a murderer, probably a rapist, and running drugs between here and the Caribbean, you see. Me? How could that be? It isn't. But they gave it to your fictional name. And you just, hey, you didn't know. That's the name of the game. Keep you in the dark. And they're very good at it. So if they don't have any, they'll make them up. Or, just an accusation is all it takes. In my book, I talk about privacy and how your privacy can be invaded and how people can basically get anything they want on you anytime. Give me 48 hours and I'll find out anything I want to know on you. And what I can't find on the internet, I'll hire some private investigator and he can find it because they have CDs, they have access to data that you don't have access to, and what they can't get, they will get surreptitiously. They'll call you up and pretend to be your bank, or they'll pretend to be a credit agency, or maybe they'll call you in for jury duty or make up something. And guess what? You give it to them. Maybe they tricked it out of you, but they're really good. It's called pretexting. They'll get out of you whatever they want. In fact, within 48 hours, I can know how much money you have in the bank, where you bank, what your account numbers are for all your credit cards, what accounts that you have offshore, what how much stock that you have, all that sort of stuff. It's really easy to get for less than $150 US. No problem. Assume business names, corporate records, court proceedings against you, all your phones and addresses cross-referenced. I like this one right here, biographical records including lifestyle. They love to talk to neighbors. In fact, I talked to a private investigator when I was first writing my book. And by the way, the book is in its 3rd edition, so it's a much improved version over the last 2. One of the things that they told me is they love your enemies. So if you have an ex, whether it's an ex-spouse or an ex-secretary or an ex-employee, ex-anything, they love them. And they'll seek them out because your exes are the ones that may be a little more free about what they say than the people who care about you. So they will find them, whether it be your neighbors or somebody. And if they, if they don't have anything bad enough, they'll just make it up. I'm telling you, these guys play hardball. There's no morality here. It's business. Let me make a point of that. You've seen some of these old mafia movies, which the Italian says, "But Guido, you just murdered my wife, my children, my whole family. Why could you do this to me?" And Vito looks back to him and says, "But Guido, nothing personal. It's just business." That's what it is. You're merely a number. Get used to it. Your fictional name is a number. Get used to it. That's what I really want to say. Okay? That's all you are. You are not a human. Don't expect some kind of compassion or that's crapola that George Bush says, compassionate conservatism. What I call it compassionate fascism. Somebody's ringing. Oh, just answer and hang up. That's mine. Turn it off. Anyway, you are nothing but a number. That's all it is. It's not like they have something against you. It's just that you have 2 things. You have your labor and you have money. That's all they want, really. And they're really good at getting it. So anyway, because you have a dossier, they can get anything that they want on you. Okay? How do they get it? You leave footprints all over the place. Through your financial transactions, use of credit cards, banking accounts, you name it. Educational records, all this stuff is available. They do surveillance on you. That phone can be tapped. They're all tapped. People ask me all the time, is my phone tapped? Yes. Well, is it a physical tap? No. Can I do anything about it? No, because they have 120 satellites in the sky called Echelon that they can listen on any phone calls that they want. They can hear anything they want. They listen for keywords, words that obviously have to do with terrorism, but also have to do with financial transactions, large sums of money. They love names of who you're doing business with offshore, that sort of thing. Be careful what you say. Okay, I go through all that in the book, but they're very good at listening in. And don't think that you're going to buy some fancy gizmo that is going to tell you whether your phone is tapped, or I love this one. Somebody told me I could call a phone number, and if I hear some kind of a special sound, then my phone is tapped, but if I hear a different jingle or something, then it's not. Oh, jeez. You know, I used to believe that myself, so I'm not making fun of you, but, you know, I've had a number of private investigators and security experts who will do sweeps on your house to find out if it's bugged, and they're laughing on the floor about that one. They said, oh, yeah, we love that one. You know what they're doing? They're gathering your phone number. They want to know who is it really thinks that they have something to hide. They just want your phone number. That doesn't work. It's ridiculous. And as far as gizmos that you can buy, go down to Radio Shack or some spy store, and you can buy something special to put on your phone, because then they won't be able to listen in on you. Oh, geez, you know. I wish I should sell those things for $500 a piece. I could make $1 million. You know, they don't work. Forget it. It's just stupid toys. If somebody ever comes to your house and they're going to do a sweep on your house, look for taps and bugs and stuff like that. If they don't drive up in a van loaded with $500,000 worth of gear, tell them to go home. If they come with a briefcase and they say, this is all I need, forget it. You know, that stuff is hundreds of thousands of dollars for the right stuff. And then, you know what? You can sweep your house so you don't have any more bugs, and then guess what? A week later, they have it bugged anyway again. Okay? So you're helpless, right? Let's all be victims. Oh, no. It's not a pretty picture out there. The government has lots of secrets, but it doesn't want you to have any. Okay? There is a difference between lawful and legal. The trouble is, we are governed by what I think are lawful laws of nature. Thou shalt not steal, or kill other people, respect others, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and the reverse golden rule, don't do unto others as you wouldn't want them to do unto you. You know, those rules are good rules. They're natural laws, but guess who doesn't follow those? You do, but they don't. They make up lots of legalities and legal regulations so that they can keep their control over you. There's no real lawful courts left. Finding a good judge is a real trick. My opinion, my humble opinion, is that the real seats of power sit with the bankers. The bankers are dictating to the governments and to large corporations what they can do. As a matter of fact, even large corporations like Microsoft are basically told what to do. For instance, the cell phones have components in them that make it easy to eavesdrop on you. Why would all the phone manufacturers put those in? Because they were told, you don't have to, but if you don't, we won't give you an import license to import into North America. So it's up to you. You don't have to put those things in, but of course you can't sell any to North Americans if you don't put those components in. Same thing is true for Microsoft. It has all kinds of weaknesses and backdoors into their software. Outlook Express, oh geez, the hackers love Outlook. If anybody uses Outlook, come up here and I want to hit you with hack the rear end, you know. A lot of people like Outlook because it's a really nifty little program. The trouble is the hackers love it. All the viruses hit that one first. Not all, but most of them do. So a lot of this stuff is all built in. What they really want is they want to control over your time, your money, your assets, your labor. And the New World Order that you hear about a lot of times is really about population control. You see, they don't have us all under control yet. Not completely. We're still here. And there are a lot of other countries and people in the world that are not totally under the control, but they're doing a real good job at tightening the noose. Why do we have it? Basically out of ignorance. Now, I listed a whole lot of other things here, but there's a couple of basic things that we fall into that keep us under their control. One is ignorance, and that's what I'm here for. I wrote a book and have a whole privacy package to help educate you, and I write a monthly newsletter to keep you informed. And Westman has lots of books here available. All the other speakers have information available to you. But how many people are here compared to the 30 million in Canada? Okay? Ignorance is very powerful, and so is convenience. It is so convenient to use that credit card or anything else. You know, put anything on credit. It's so convenient. smart cards, the digital angel that I wrote about in one of my recent newsletters, which is the computer chip in your head so they can keep track of you. Oh, you might have Alzheimer's, or your kid might get lost, or one of these things. It's so convenient just to press a little button. You instantly know where your loved one is. Convenience is a real killer, so you have to be real careful with convenience. Okay. I'm writing another book, and basically what I'm writing about is ignorance. This one right here, education. I should call it the lack of education, because whether it be from churches or from schools, the churches are mostly 501c3s in the United States, which is tax exempt, and the schools are too, whether they're private or public, and either they don't know or they're deliberately misleading you and keeping you from the real truth, probably for tax purposes or because they're run by the government and they don't want you to know. So we hardly stand a chance unless you come to events such as this. Total control. That's where it's going. I've been hearing a lot lately about international banking. I write a lot in my newsletter about interpretation. You see, what they do is they write laws, lots of laws, regulations, legislation that will say one thing and do another. In the United States, there's a law called the Bank Secrecy Act. What it really means is let's keep everything secret from the customer. And let's share it all with the other banks and the big corporate entities and the government so that they can keep control over us. Throughout the world, transactions are becoming, what they want is total transparency in transactions. And so I've been giving that a little time lately in the newsletter in terms of how can you even go offshore if the screws are being tightened so much that all the tax havens in the world are being threatened. They're threatening to cut off their access to the world banking system if they don't conform to the G7 countries, the big, most powerful countries, demands for transparency of transactions. So they want to know where your trust is, who are the trustees, who are the settlers, who are the beneficiaries, all that. And there's a lot of countries out there that are resisting. How long can they resist? I don't know. I calculate that we maybe have 5 years. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But what they want is total control. They're not satisfied with just a little bit, knowing everything about you, what you're doing, where you're at. They want total control of you, your labor, and your money. They also want control over where you can work, your family composition, where you can go to school. Oh, I love this. What Bill Clinton recently said, oh, yeah, there was a homeschooled kid that just won the national spelling bee and won the national geography bee. And he said, yeah, home education is good, but you can't guarantee that those homeschooled kids are going to get a really good education. So I think what we really need to do is organize them. I talk in my book and my newsletter about Orwellian terms, doublespeak. What does organize them mean? Control them. Register them and control them. Okay, that's what it means, but he's going to make it sound good, and your government leaders are the same way. It's no different. They're going to couch something in terms that will make it sound good. Total control, including international religion. Can you extract yourselves? Yes and no, sort of. It's not. There's no silver bullets, though. It's not like you can do it overnight. Okay. Here's one thing you can start doing, though. You can start right now by stopping your support of slavery. You can stop the support. You know what your government is doing. You know what the big corporations are doing. I happen to know that a lot of clothing comes from China, is made in sweatshops there. And I boycott companies that buy from sweatshops if I can. I also boycott the government in my own way. And you can too. You have to make your own moral decision what you're going to do. But you can stop supporting the slavery, even if you can't extract yourself right away. I go through a lot of strategies. What I did in my book was go through the problem that we have today and how everybody is all transparent, how they can find out anything they want about you. But most of the time I spent in strategies. What can you do? There are a number of areas of your life: home, work, school, traveling. See, what you have to consider is that if you get your bank under control, your bank account, or your money situation under control. That's not all of it. You see, if you have offshore accounts or you have everything private and you don't own a house and there's nothing for them to come after and you want to live a nice life, you might have a few secrets. It doesn't do any good to have all that set up if you're going to give away the farm and what you say over the telephone. You can pick up cell phones and cordless phones on baby monitors. Okay? So we're really talking about a total program here. And there are a number of things that you have to consider. Your children, for instance. You know, there's telephone, television, and telekid. You know, people will have an unlisted number for privacy, and they'll tell the kid what it is. And it goes all around the school. Oh, yeah, that's good to have an unlisted number. Another thing they'd like to do with unlisted numbers, and they don't even know any better. They have unlisted, unpublished numbers. They say, that's, you know, private. Nobody's going to get that. I'm not going to tell my kid. I don't even tell my spouse. What do? They call an 800 number on that. Guess who pays for that 800 number? The company that you called. How do they pay for that 800 number? Because they got your phone number on it. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't care if you have, you know, any of this caller ID or anything. Nothing hides that 800 number. They got to pay for it, so they have to know whether it's long distance, so they get your number. So you give away the farm inadvertently. Okay? I go over a lot of various types of strategies in my book, but I just like to make an important point, and that is you need to protect yourself first. They play hardball out there. So if you're going to get involved in anything with regards to the freedom movement, whatever you do, think first of all, I've got to protect myself. If I'm down on the playing field, first of all, I've got to strap on some pads. Second of all, because I still need some protection. Second of all, I'd like to be able to see my opponents. So I'm going to have to get some night vision goggles. Okay? Third, I would like to end up on the field with no money in my pocket, so at least they won't rob me blind. You know, divest yourself or spread it around. Do something, but do the protection first. Get yourself, your assets, your family, your source of revenue under control and protected first. Then you can go out and spread the word or do whatever you want. I drive a fairly old car and I don't own a house, and anything that I get, I actually have a domestic bank account. And I think I have $37 in it or something like that. Money occasionally goes in there, but I'll tell you, it goes out real fast. And it goes several other places before it ends up someplace that doesn't last very long, and then it goes someplace else. Okay? So, yeah, they'll be after me sooner or later. That's okay. I'm going to stay one step ahead of them. I'm going to enjoy the ride, because I have some tricks up my sleeve. Come on here. I talk a lot about privacy policies, and you need to have a privacy policy with regard to your education, medical records, your communications, travel, and the computer. What's my favorite privacy policy? Don't tell them nothing. Have you ever heard of lying? When I grew up in a very strict religious household, and it was a sin to lie. I got to tell you something. Confession, I lie. Okay, so if somebody comes to your door and they have a big gun and they say, "Where's your daughter? Because she stood me up last night and I'm going to blow her away." Are you going to tell her that she's up in the bedroom? Come on with me, let me show you. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. That's what's happening. I mean, there are millions of people out there that are, people commit suicide, people are being starved of their means of production, their livelihood, their right to prosperity and the right to life because of what the powers that be are doing to the entire world. Are you going to let it happen? It's like seeing a little starving kid. Hey, he's starving. I'm a visitor in this country. I didn't make him starve. I got a big sandwich in my hand. Jeez, I didn't have him. Let his mother feed him. Or are you going to give him a bite? Well, it's up to you. But there are a number of things that you have to do. Like I said, protect yourself, and then I go into a lot of detail. I put together a complete privacy package because a lot of people use computers. And so I go through a great deal of detail about what to do with computers. I'll tell you, a window to your life is on your computer. In fact, I know somebody who lost a laptop like this. He was head of a big organization, a big feed organization. And he lost all his clients on an unencrypted drive on a business trip. Happens in the airports lots of time. The number one thing stolen in the airport is laptops. Okay, so you got physical control. I'm not going to go over all these things. Here's the things that I provide on my privacy package. I wrote this because people kept on asking me, Larry, just tell me what to do because there's too much. I go to these conferences and everybody tells me everything and fills up my brain and I can't, I can't get it all together. Just tell me what to do. So I created this privacy package. And it has a CD-ROM loaded with encryption products, antivirus, anti-Trojan horse, all the things that I could think of that will enable you to keep your important data on your computer fully encrypted, very high-level encryption, allow you to encrypt single files and send them as email attachments. Really easy. I mean, the other person doesn't even have to have the program. Okay? Trojan horse antivirus, which most people don't even have, never even heard of. There are things that the government and hackers and big business have that are called keyloggers, Trojan horse programs that they send into your computer by even clicking on a website. That's all it takes. And they download this Trojan horse to your computer. It takes over your computer and it can send up data, information, files to Romania, Russia, United States government, off to Ottawa or wherever they want it to go without you even knowing. Okay, Trojan horses. And there's products on there to prevent that, warn you about it. There's another one that I included that's free called Zone Alarm. It's a personal firewall. You would be amazed, for those of you who get on the internet, how many times somebody's pinging your computer trying to get access to the ports. There's a lot of places they can get access to your computer, and they're hitting it all the time. You'd just be amazed. So I included all that there, ways to protect your important data